Click the link in the description for your free Amsoil catalog. Before we get started, I'd like to give a quick shout out to some of our friends. The Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame. Search for them on Facebook. Central Minnesota Pond Racing. Search for them on Facebook. The historic Lancaster Motel for the ultimate Eastern trail riding adventure. Crane's Snowmobile Museum at 172 Main Street in Lancaster, New Hampshire. The Vintage Snowmobile Club of America Quarterly Magazine. The New Hampshire Snowmobile Museum at Bear Brook State Park in Allenstown, New Hampshire. And lastly, if you decide to advertise with the Vintage Snowmobile Podcast, this could be your advertising message. Well, good evening and welcome to the podcast. I'm really glad you're here. I have a robust lineup of vintage snowmobile entertainment on tap for you tonight. But before we get into all of that, I want to make sure that everything is working properly. So if you can see my face and hear my voice, I'm going to ask you to leave a comment. Please let me know where you're viewing this from and whether you are a first-time viewer or a regular viewer. Now, to our first-time viewers, if this is your first time viewing the podcast tonight, I hope you have a good time with us, and I hope you decide to join us here each and every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, this podcast simulcasts to 8 different places across Facebook and YouTube. So wherever you're viewing this right now, just circle back in 1 week's time, and it will be waiting for you with another fun-filled episode. Now, to our regular viewers who are here week after week, month after month, and season after season, you guys are the ones who make this possible, and we really, really appreciate that. Pardon me. Let's take a few comments, and we will bring our guests on and get this party started. Our good friend Mike Whiteside is in the house saying, hello, guys, getting closer to snow season. Yes, absolutely. Oh, our dear friend Judy Rinaldi is in the house. Thank you, Judy, for showing up. Judy, incidentally, is the first woman to be inducted into the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame back in 2020. And she's a dear friend, and it's nice to see her here. Also, our good friends Stacy and Art Fosler are in the house. They're saying it sounds good from Platkill, New York, regular viewers. Our good friend Reese Fleury is here saying good evening to everyone. Nice to see you. Jim Holbrook is in the house, regular viewer and a good friend from Thetford Center, Vermont. He says we're coming in loud and clear. That is great to hear. Our good friend John Spranger Jr. is here saying good evening from Eland, Wisconsin. He's saying what a shame about Articat. They're pausing production at Hurt River Falls facility. Very sad to hear that. And we'll be commenting that here in just a moment. We were just talking about that backstage because, of course, that is big news. Dave Lowry says, hello from Alberta, repeat viewer, and we are glad to see you here. Glenn Ford, our good friend from Vernon Center, New York, is here saying good evening. Nice to see you. Brian Van Haverbeek, he was our guest last week. He's here this week as a viewer. Nice to see you, saying good evening and looking forward to the podcast. Benedim is here. That is Eric at the Benedim YouTube channel. That is one of the YouTube channels where this podcast goes out to. There is a link to it in the description. If you enjoy vintage snowmobile programming, that is a wonderful YouTube channel, very much worth checking out. He's saying we're loud and clear from Camden, New York. Midnight Rider is here. Good. He says, sounds good from Northwest Minnesota, regular viewer. Nice to see you as always. Our good friend Jim Layton is here. Hello, all, he says. Jim Layton's been on the podcast many times and will continue to be so, or to do so, because he's a really good friend and he always has some really cool stuff to show us. Mad Dog is here, foaming at the mouth, regular viewer from Wisconsin. Hello, all, he says. John Spranger Jr. says, Thief River Falls. I had a feeling that was a typo, but I'm glad you caught that. Yes. Joe Pelletier says, good evening, Mike. Nice to see you. Well, great. Nice to have so many people in here tonight. We really appreciate it. Let's bring our friends on and get this party started. We've got Jeff Wesner in the center and, of course, our co-host Rob Hilditch on the right there. Gentlemen, how are we doing tonight?
Sounding great. Thanks, Mike, for having me back on. Last time I was on was about a year and a half ago, and we did the reunion for the Mercury 50 years of the Snow Twister. And good to see you, Rob.
How you been doing?
Great. Busy. You know, it's that time of year. We're getting trails ready and sleds ready and it never ends, It's one thing to the next.
Yep.
For sure, for sure. And before we get started, this is just news that is too big to ignore. Do we want to each weigh in real quick with comments about this news from Arcticat before we get into the meat of the biscuit here?
Well, I received it last night because I take care of a couple of .coms and pages and groups, and started reading it, and I knew it was probably not going to be real good news, but it sounds like they have shut down production. Hopefully they're going to bring it back in the spring, but it does involve a lot of employees, and the power sports program across the U.S. and Canada, they're all hurting. I mean, we haven't had good snow. We need to have a year, get some good snow. The other thing that kind of hurt Arcticat is Yamaha stepped out. They were making all the chassis for. So it's news. It's out there. Hopefully, the catalyst that they put out this year model will bring back a bunch of riders and we get some good snow. Maybe the whole industry will start to flourish again.
Well, I hope so. And hopefully the economy starts to take a positive turn. That could help also, I'm hoping. But and Rob, anything you want to weigh in with this news about Arcticat? Or?
I got 5 Arcticats, and I didn't start one last year, not one. Because I have my cabin, I have to go up the lake to get to the trails. The lake was never safe last year, and we didn't have much snow. And a lot of my friends traveled 10 hours to find snow.
Wow, yeah, that's hurting everybody.
The average weekend driver can't do that. So,
my brother's a trail boss up in Monaco, Wisconsin, for the cross-country cruisers. They never spun a groomer wheel last year, and that's what helps fund their trails. Besides the brushing and signing for the state of Wisconsin, but that's sad, and it's not just his large club. I mean, it's all the clubs up in northern Wisconsin didn't have. We had 7 days of snowmobiling down in the southern part of the state, and that was it.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's not just the snowmobiles and the dealerships. Our local restaurant up north, they're not sure if they're going to open this winter. They had no business last year. There's a couple of motels I go to that you want to get to by Snowmobile Trail. After hunting season's over, they think they might close down for the winter.
Wow, that hurts.
It's affecting everybody.
Yeah,
well, let's hope for a great year. Let's hope that we get some snow and it does what they say it's supposed to.
Yeah, that would be great for everybody, for sure. For sure. Well, cool. Well, with that out of the way, Jeff is here, and Jeff is he does SNOWTRACKS. Let me put a graphic on the screen, and then Jeff, tell us about SNOWTRACKS. I know you're on Facebook and you've got a website, and tell us exactly what that is you're doing with that.
SNOWTRACKS.com started back in the 90s when the internet first was really getting up and getting started and going. And a couple of guys from northern Wisconsin, these chambers of commerce and clubs were trying to let people know how their trail conditions were, just like we were talking that no snow. That time it was great, and they came up with doing this on a website, and it's called SNOWTRACKS.com. It's a .com. And what we have 8 states right now. We'd like to get some more eastern states going if we could, but it was brought together so that people could share, clubs especially, share their trail conditions and what's going on up there. And we try to have our reporters report on Wednesdays and Fridays so that people know and understand that they can travel and should have good snow conditions. We monitor it because sometimes some of the reporters might add a little more from 1 inch to 4 inches, so we kind of watch it to make sure that they're being honest with us and everything. But the same thing has happened to us with the power sports thing, is that we run this page and it gets, we go from very few, in the summer that we have to put in more mother computers to run it through the winter months. And again, if Mike can click on Wisconsin, if that'll work, I don't know if it lists all the places that you can check out if you want to snowmobile in Wisconsin. We had a group from California that used it for communicating. And what it's done is it's so the snowmobile community can communicate, tell you what the trail reports are. And usually when you bring up that trail report, we'll have a page with some advertising, a good motel to stay at, a restaurant that's known. and any other related, like services for snowmobiling. Also, there's a lot of information on SNOWTRACKS.com that it has to do with safety of snowmobiling and things like that. It was, like I say, it was a brain trust between a couple of guys, turned out very well. And then, of course, Facebook came along. Well, now we lost a lot of people off the .com to Facebook. So our IT guy came up, and he actually, if you look for SNOWTRACKS on Facebook, it's Snow and Tracks, because when Facebook first started, you had to use your name, and it had to have the two names. So for us to get our .com business up on there, we put Snow and Tracks. So it's two names. And what we did is that our IT guy worked with our .com. So now when our reporters put up a snow report, it'll pop up on your phone saying SNOWTRACKS has a report, and it'll say where it's at. And if you want to look at that report, you touch it, and then it goes right to that report. I did one earlier tonight, put one up, but it obviously hasn't gone through the IT center yet to be put up. But we need advertisers too. I mean, if you want to open up an area and give us trail reports, we'll work with you and try to get some advertising in that area and keep the SNOWTRACKS going. The picture of the girls there, that's from 2016. That was one of our first wraps on a Skidoo, and the girls decided they all wanted to pose with it. So it was from Arctic FX that we were working with at the time. And we just have a group to get together when we ride, and we try to let everybody know what's going on. You can see the picture in the back there. That is actually a Do Talk ride, and that's up in Mercer, Wisconsin. And I do get 60, 70 riders when I have a trail ride.
Nice.
So,
nice.
And then a lot of times the clubs will take the pictures and where they're at. But yeah, SNOWTRACKS is out there. Please, try it out, check it out, and see. Once the reports start coming in, we've had a few reports coming in about clubs brushing in upper Wisconsin. Again, like California, there was a group called Team Summit. They used it to communicate where they were going to meet and everything like that. So it's there. It's a tool. It's trail reports. It's about safety. And if you stay on the Facebook, I regularly, nightly put up news. Like last night, the Arctic Cat letter went out and what's going on. Sometimes I'll put some weather up. I'm working with, used to work a little bit with John D., who passed away. So now I've been working with, there's a new guy up in Wausau, Wisconsin area. He's starting to pick up and starting to do a lot of the weather reports for me. So it's worked out great.
Nice. Is that what this map is here?
Yes, he put up the other night. That's for next week. And he's already, I don't know if it shows up on there, but he's already outdated it and brought up a new one. And going to try and work with him more and more, just, for weather reports. And hopefully we can get this, snow coming and let's get some good riding in this year.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. That's nice. That's nice. And then speaking of Do Talk, are you still doing the Do Talk page and all of that?
Yes, I am the administrator. There's two administrators. There's one out in New York out there, and the mods and stuff. And I just did read the other night, one of our mods he's been involved with it since we started it, and he's been an advocate snowmobiler. And he actually said that he sold his sleds and got out of it and kind of more ATVing than he is snowmobiling, because he didn't want to spend another year that's here out in New York looking at his sleds in the garage. Yeah. So he's going to stay on as a mod, but he just said he's got to do something else. He can't garage ride anymore, he says. Yeah.
He's a tough years the last few years for us snowmobilers, for sure.
Right. And that's actually, how I got into more of the vintage stuff and being with the vintage things and going to these vintage shows, because you can group together and, share the old stories and stuff like that.
Yes, for sure.
That's
and
why I like your podcast too, Mike, because this brings out a lot of people. And, like you say, like last week you did on the kitty cats. That was great. It brought in the youth and looked at, what's going on and all the memorabilia that Brian, was it, that had?
Yes.
But very neat. I mean, I've been to two Skidoo Emporiums in Wisconsin. There's one in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, by Pat Schaefer, and the other one is Craig Marchbanks. Sometime I'll have to share the videos from those, but that's something if you're a Skidoo person, you want to put on your bucket list. It's just unbelievable. It's 2 stories at Pat Schaefer's. Wow. He's that many sleds and in memorabilia that you wouldn't think about. I mean, he once had a group together and he says, "Hey, I'm looking for these special boots that Skidoo made. They're made out of seal skin. If anybody sees them, let me know." Well, my brother happened to find a pair at the Princeton swap meet, a couple of years ago, and they couldn't wait to get their hands on them because they're like gold. So
wow, yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I'd love to get some kind of tour of that facility for sure.
Well, I think if you dig through SNOWTRACKS far enough, you might find it. But it was like the other night when you were looking for some of the videos that we're going to bring up tonight. Yes. So.
And that's actually a perfect segue. You do have some video clips for us. Most of them are from the Duluth show. While I'm pulling up that first clip, do you want to talk about that Duluth show?
Well, I was set to take the tripod setup, the 11 sleds, up to the national show. So I was watching the national show, and I've attended other national shows, but it was a 6-hour drive for me. I picked up my brother and we went up there, and I like to go on setup day. And I go in and I look around because there's not as many people as when the show starts, but also I can look and interview people and talk to people about, their sleds and things like that. The first clip, I think, is the one you're going to show, kind of shows everything that's there on Friday at noon. More stuff came in. They actually had a swap meet inside the same building with the show. So it was quite interesting. I don't think they got this amount of sleds that they really wanted to have, but there are a lot of interesting sleds. Veldy was there, and I was actually going to interview him, but I ran out of time that day. And, of course, you had a podcast a couple of episodes ago, and he had all his stuff anyways, so yeah. It would have been just a copy over. But, no, it was a great show. It's just these national shows, and next year it's out in New York in June. And that's the other thing. I don't like the idea of, in the summer months. They need to push it more towards the fall, I think, when people are starting to think about snowmobiling. But you got to do what you got to do when you can get the venue. So
yes, it's true. Well, cool. Let's take a look at this first clip here, and we'll react to it on the other side. Oh, it's taking a moment to load here.
Well, it's a pretty good size clip. In fact, I got my national shirt on.
Nice. Oh, it's not letting me. Oh, darn it. I don't know why I didn't catch this earlier. Yeah, there's an issue with that clip. So let's go to the second clip. And yeah, I don't know why. Sometimes just Murphy's Law works against us. But let's look at this second clip. This is the clip without audio. So if you have any kind of commentary you want to do over this, let me know. And I can pause it at any point too.
See what you got. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. This is the building inside. And half of it was where they had all the show sleds. And the other half is where they had the swap meet and stuff. As you can see, quite a collection of sleds. And like you see, I usually run some audio, but it's or I talk to people when I see them standing around. And when we get to the clip on the moto skis, I actually interviewed them, and I look for interesting things, and that's how we proceed with But this was a video, like I said, right at noon. Show actually didn't open up till 5:00 that night. So
nice. So you had a little more elbow room at that hour,
right? And very like nice. Say, you get the inside stories from these guys as they bring in their sleds and they're explaining. I'm sorry, there's no audio. There should have been some audio, I thought, with that, but.
Well, there was some ambient noise, and I muted that in editing.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. But there was no conversation or, there was no interviews or anything.
No, I did not. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Unless I say, like, I run into somebody. This snowmobile here looks like a NASCAR.
Yeah, what's going on with that?
I don't know. He bodied it up and made it look like a NASCAR with a steering wheel and all.
Sure. Very cool. Any reactions to that NASCAR car, snowmobile, Rob?
That's different.
Yes, for sure.
Some people's got some good imagination.
Somebody spent a lot of hours, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Yes. And let's see, we'll keep it go. Whoops, it went back to the beginning. So this is buggy as heck tonight. What the? Yeah, so as you can
No,
see.
at the very beginning, you had a skidoo with kind of like a side extra piece of fairing on the front.
That was for the pipes, I think, to come out, and they called it a 494 or something like that. It was called.
Let me see if I
It
can
had
go
a
back to that.
special motor in it.
Right there.
Oh, this one here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, something's going on with that.
1969 or even older than that.
Oh, it looks like probably I would say 67, 68 maybe.
Yeah.
I think, and that's when that special motor was built. I actually have other clips of that special motor being built and stuff. That Johnny Bauer found one laying alongside a railroad track, and he had it rebuilt and put into a sled. And it's quite the story. Him and Stan Hayes talk about it. But we'll have to bring that clip up some other time when I can come back.
Yeah, for sure. And then we were back over. Yeah, we were on this row here. Let me continue with this. Some more modern sleds.
Mostly snowcross there. Some drag sleds, ice oval sleds. It's Dimmermans.
Some nice TXs.
The famous 245 Skidoo RV. There was two of them there. I lost mine. I don't know where it went.
Wow.
But there's a lot of time in polishing tunnels, and I mean that sled at Waconia, when they had the auction on a sled like that for donations, went to Jimmy John's, the guy who owns the sandwich shops, for about $16,000.
Wow.
So I mean, it was a charity auction, so
That's cool.
it benefited a place in Green Bay, Wisconsin, that works with the handicapped people.
Oh, nice. That's a good cause.
That was a Pat Schaefer worked on that deal, and he had some guys from Iowa. There's Yamaha set up, and these guys weren't around, or I probably would have interviewed them, because they do have a very beautiful setup.
Yeah.
65 tin cab, and there's a smaller version. That Skidoo is probably about a 67 or so. But I mean, there's a lot of vintage, sleds, lots of years, and were brought in. And this is right downtown Duluth. I mean, in their expo center. And you can see the moto ski setup, and I do have an interview with that. We'll bring that up later on the podcast. These three guys collected these moto skis and even the mini bike and stuff, and get a little bit more in depth with that interview.
Yes.
What is that one?
Oh, I can't remember what they're called. Snow Coupe or something like that.
Yes, I think so. I know Paul Crane's got one in his museum, and I think it's Snow Coupe or something like that.
I think it's powered by a Polaris motor. It's like a unique car. There's quite a few of them up. Actually, I've run into some on the trails up in Mercer, Wisconsin.
No, Jeff, I mean the little red one beside it.
Oh, the little red one. Okay, I don't know. Yeah, that's. I probably didn't spend enough time on it.
I'm trying to get back to that so we can. Okay. Whoops.
Yeah, it jumps right over it. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe somebody that was at the national show could tell us. But yeah, I probably should spend some more time on it.
Here we go. Can anyone read what that says on the front there? Snow. I can't make it out. And if any of our viewers know, in fact, this is a good time to check our comments, because we've got a bunch of them coming in. But while
Reese,
we're
send you a message in a minute.
Yes. And in fact, speaking of Reese, he likes your hat. He says, "Nice hat, Rob." Nice. Mike Whiteside says we need to tell the government to stop holding the snow back from us. Yes. For sure.
No politics on my websites.
Exactly. Yeah, I try to keep it as low profile on that too. But yeah, Ben Thomas, who I had breakfast with yesterday, which was very, very fun, which is another story for another time. But he's saying good evening from Carterville, New York. He said sounding and looking great. And it was great to see you yesterday, Ben. We had a wonderful visit. Reese Fleury says, don't need much snow for bogey wheels. True. And Reese Fleury says 66. He might be talking about that Ski-Doo we were looking at the very beginning.
Right, yeah, with the bigger motor in it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Ben Thomas says, wow, some amazing looking sleds there. Reese Fleury says, oh, maybe this one here, the Frederick Willie Snow Dart. So this little red one here might be the Snow Dart. And then we've got a comment also on that sled next to it. Innovar Snow Coupe. Max Garage is telling us that.
Neat.
So thank you.
I knew it was Snow Coupe, but truth hurts.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is, and if it's political, we do try. We all have our political opinions and everything, but on this podcast, we try to keep it as apolitical as possible because we're here to have fun and not get into all of that. I'm sure we probably have very similar points of view, but it's just I don't feel like the place for it. But because we want to have fun and not get into the weeds with
right.
Political bickering. But yeah, let's continue with unless there are any more comments on the Snow Coupe or this Snow Dart. Do we want to keep rolling this?
Yep. The other thing is, Mike, like I said, if you go to Facebook, which some people don't have, but if you go to Facebook, SNOWTRACKS, these videos are also on there. You can take a closer look at them if you want. You got to dig for them though, and that's one thing I don't like about Facebook because it's there that night or the next day, but then you go back to try to find it. It's hard to find. So where the .coms, like the dotalk.com, that information's there from day one and from 2002 when we started it. So
yeah, it's true. It can be harder to find on Facebook. I try to use the video tab, but even then sometimes it can be difficult to find for sure. But yeah, you've got tons of good video on there. And there is a link to your Facebook page in the description of this podcast. So if you're curious about Jeff's Facebook page or his website, there are links to check that out.
Right. And I just, I don't own the website. The website or the SNOWTRACKS is owned by a couple of people, and it's part of the Outdoor Network. And Outdoor Network has all kinds of things. Learn how to fish, ATVing. There's all kinds of things on there. So that's the other one is outdoornetwork.net. Not .com, .net. There's lots of things on there that these guys had come up with back in the 90s to start this. SNOWTRACKS was just one part of it. Now I just promote for SNOWTRACKS. I'm kind of the lead dog in that. Daryl Rose and Julie actually own it and very well supportive of the snowmobile community, and they actually even support a race car that races through the state of Wisconsin. So
yeah, nice. Very cool. So yeah, we'll continue rolling this clip here and see what else we've got. And then we've got lots more to look at tonight.
It's surprising at a national show that we get a lot of shined up sleds.
Yeah.
There's a 150 Mercury.
Nice.
There's probably one of Skidoo's first sleds.
The tin cab here?
Yeah, the tin cab with the wood skis.
Nice. That's very cool.
This was a section dedicated to the Skidoo Racing Brothers up there. I can't quite name what's the name. Killback or
yeah.
Yeah, they had all those motors. In fact, that special motor is right there. That's it. That one, see the big housing on the side. That's what you see on that cab of that one sled. That's to get that housing in there with the pipes and stuff.
Interesting. Yeah.
And that motor was shipped over here from Austria, and they had to cut the fins to put it together. I mean, like I say, Doug Hayes really explains it real good in another video I have. We'll bring up some other time, but Yeah, they had to cut the cylinders to make them fit and to race that motor, and it was shipped here just for racing for Skidoo.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, very cool. So these are the brothers?
Must be. I mean, I wish someone would have been around. I would have interviewed them.
Yeah, there's going to be a great story there, I'll bet. Rudbeck, I think, is the name.
Yeah, something like 1969 season.
Wow. That's cool. So, yeah, and then the video circles back to the beginning here. But, Rob, was there any reactions to anything we've been looking at here?
Oh, it's a nice collection of snowmobiles in that place.
Well, it's a national show. I wish it would have been a better turnout. I'm thinking, the guy who put it together for the national show did a lot of work in getting the exhibit hall and everything and bringing it all together. And participation, I think, was down a little bit, this is just one part of the building. I think the other video that didn't load shows another whole building full of sleds.
Wow,
that's amazing. And I'll have to resolve that for the next time you come on, and we'll take a look at that. And
there was a different kind of caboose behind that Husky. Looked like you sat side by side instead of behind each other. Oh, just past it.
Find that. Oh.
I'm glad you're good at clicking on it, Mike.
Yeah, it's really hard to stop on a dime with this because it's very sensitive. Every little millimeter I move it, it feels like it moves it a lot more than that. But while we're on this, for my money, this is one of the sexier sleds ever made. What do we think about that as far as you guys and the viewers? The RV, are we thinking that's one of the sexier sleds ever made, or is it just me?
Well, there's a lot of innovation into that, just like the Mercury. It's a rotary valve 245 RV. I raced one. Skidoo had come to me and asked me if I could race it, and I raced it. There was quite a few of them. A lot of them got sold at the dealership, didn't go to racers, but now they're quite collectible. I mean, it's the money is just unbelievable, but it's got to be the right person too. Just like anything, you can put anything up for sale, but if you don't have the right person that is interested in it, or you raced it or whatever. I mean, there was an Elan that I raced back in the day. I found it 20, 30 years later. I gave a little bit more for it because I did race it at one time. But
that's cool.
That's
do we know anything about this Polaris? Because I know there was someone viewing a week or two ago that I think was the owner of that. And I can't recall his name, but I'd love to have him on for the backstory on that. But do you know anything about it? Or?
Well, I just know that the motor's offset way to the left.
Yes.
And I probably don't have a front shot of it, but it's way to the left again for making the corners on a nice oval.
Almost looks like two machines.
See how it's way over to there. I do have a front shot of it that it's way. I mean, the track and the tunnel are way over from the side of it, and again, that's to keep the weight to the left so that it would corner better and
more stable in the corners.
Sure, it's probably a 440 or 650 mod. It could be bigger.
Oh, and here we go. Comment on the 245 RV, and someone's agreeing with me. David Lowry says yes, it's one of the sexiest sleds. Also, the SSR. Yeah, absolutely, and that's in this lineup here too. Let me see if I can find that SSR.
Yeah.
I know I saw that earlier. Well, where the heck?
That's right there in the front row.
Yeah, but right there. It's coming right there. That is a sexy sled as well.
I know some of the guys that race those Gary Fetro raced it. He was number 32, and he was a big Yamaha guy and stuff, but talking to some of the other people like Fran Rosenquist and some of the engineers from Mercury helped them with that sled back in the day for racing. Lyle Forsner was one of them that was involved with that a little bit. But, there's a lot of thing there. I guess they didn't turn as well as they wanted them to. But,
when they first came out, they weren't the fastest thing on the track. Guys had to do a lot of work to then get them going. But they do look sharp.
Yes. Oh, and Eric at Benedim says the RVs are okay, but the 73 Blizzards are actually the sexiest sled. You may be right on that. Yeah, that is a sexy sled also for sure. And Reese Fleury was saying that Merc is pretty handsome also. Definitely.
My brother had a 73 Blizzard. He sold it.
Wow.
After he restored it all, rode it a little bit, and he sat in the garage and he goes, I don't know where I'm going to ever ride this again. So he sold it.
Wow. That's wild. Well, cool. Well, let me switch gears here. We're going to pull this away, and it's going to be time for Amsoil here in a moment. And whenever you're ready, Rob, let me know. We'll put you full screen, and Rob's going to talk to us about Amsoil. And I do have that promo banner, too, when you're ready.
Okay, we're here to talk about synthetic oils. And if you notice the sign behind me, special oils for special engines. That's what Amsoil is promoting this year. So those people are going trail riding. The Interceptor's all you need. It doesn't matter if you got a Skidoo, Polaris, or an Arctic Cat, the Interceptor meets all the qualifications. But for those with the older machines, Amsoil back in 1972 came out with a 2-cycle oil that's 100 to 1. Now, some of the people were saying my rep needs 30 to 1. Some of the other ones need 40 to 1. Amsoil doesn't burn off to a higher temperature. That's why you don't need as much oil. At 100 to 1, we're twice the protection than what still is in their chainsaw at 32 to 1. So if you want your equipment to last longer, Amsoil will make it last longer, cheaper to run. And at my cottage, I have 1 can of gas and oil. Doesn't matter if it's my Black Max 50 Merc 99 or the Snowmobile or the chainsaw or the weed eater, everything runs Amsoil 100 to 1. It's really a convenient way to go. Now, Amsoil's been promoting their products quite often. And this weekend, I don't know if you guys know about the Canadian Grey Cup. You guys have the Super Bowl down there. Amsoil's official oil of the Canadian Grey Cup up here in Toronto. It's going to be in Calgary. That's our big football game, like your Super Bowl. So for more information about the Amsoil or how to get it at a discount price, you can click on Mike's link. And on Mike's link, they'll send you one of the Amsoil catalogs. And we don't hide the price. Right in the catalog is the price what the product should retail for and what you get it for. And for $10, you can become a first customer, buy everything directly from Amsoil, and have it shipped right to your house. You order $100 worth, you get free shipping. Now, every month, Amsoil has a promotion thing. The one month they had the light, the next month they had a keychain, and this month they got, if you order $50 worth, and for an extra $5, you get a bottle of Quick Shot. And that's the product we use for the ethanol problem, and also to clean the carbs and jets on all the small engines. In Canada, our ethanol is a really big problem. 10% ethanol on our gas. It doesn't take long for gas to start going bad, but by putting this in, it prevents that from happening for 6 months, and it's also a part stabilizer. But it also cleans the carbs. So for more information about any of the product Amsoil has available, engine oil, gear lubes, 2 cycles, click onto the link Mike has and find out how you can buy it at the best discount you can.
Definitely. And when you use the link in the description to order using my referral number, that's a great way to support this podcast. It doesn't cost you anything extra, but we get a commission. I'm signed up as a dealer under Rob, and when you sign up for Amsoil under me, he and I both benefit, and this is how we pay the expenses for the podcast. We thank people who've been doing that all along, and if you're thinking about doing that, we thank you in advance for using my referral number and helping to support the podcast. Another announcement I wanted to make, let me find the graphic for it here. Yeah, right here. If you like these old logos from yesteryear, there is a link in the description where you can get one of these logos on a t-shirt, a hoodie, a mug. You can get a poster, a magnet, a cell phone case. You can get these logos on just about anything. So if you like these old logos from yesteryear, there are dozens and dozens of them. Just click the link in the description there. You'll see it. And you can order that. And the same kind of deal. If you order through my link, I'll get a commission, and that helps to support this podcast. And we thank you in advance for that. A couple of quick comments, and we'll get back into some more videos here. Here we go, Eric.
I got a picture of that Blizzard. If this, I don't know how this will.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's not going to come through here. It's too shiny. But I had a picture of the Blizzard with Johnny Bauer. It's not going to work, so we'll get it up some other time.
Sure. That's cool. Now, if someone were to Google that, would that possibly come up? Is that how you found it?
No, it's actually in my private pictures.
Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha. So let's see. Eric from Benedim, the YouTube channel, says, me and my dad have two 1973 Blizzards, 298s. He says a friend of his has a 340, and we know someone with a 440. Awesome sleds. Absolutely. The race sleds and the consumer sleds for 73 were just beautiful, beautiful sleds for sure. And our good friend Armin Buto says, watched it but could not sign in to chat. Sorry about that. No worries at all. But we're glad to have you on here, Armin. And ran into Armin here I'm going to say maybe a month or so ago at the Pittsburgh, New Hampshire show. It was great to see him. We had a nice visit. Reese Fleury says, hate to see what the other guy looks like, Rob. Did you want to speak to that, Rob? Or?
I went and had some cancer on my back cut out, and the doc says, what about that on your nose and on your face? I didn't even see it, so he cut it out. Hopefully he got it all.
Well, good. I sure hope so.
Yeah.
For sure.
Thanks for the concern.
Yes. All right, so we are on item number 5. No, we're going to do item number 6 first. We're going to take a look at some moto skis that were at that Duluth show. I believe Jeff got an interview with the owner of those. Did you want to talk that up, Jeff, before we look at those?
Yeah, like I said, and I'm walking around, I'll look to see if there's anybody that's with the sled and they want to talk about the sled. And these moto skis were pretty interesting to me. I actually had one of the mini bikes in my day, and I was looking at that and stuff. And I asked them, I said, would you guys like to, tell me about your sleds? And they said, well, they'd think about it. And they came back and they said, yeah, we'll do an interview. So I ended up talking to the 3 people who own it, and you can go ahead and play the interview. I hope it's a good interview. So we'll see what happens.
Yes, let's take a look. It's just taking a moment to load here, as it often does. Yeah, sorry about that. It's taking a moment to load. This is where we need our Jeopardy music. Let me try it one more time here.
And that might be because you're pulling them, or we'll have some better videos. I sent Mike a thumb drive of the Mercury reunion we're going to do down the road, and kind of show you some of the stuff that went on there. It gets pretty long, so Mike, you're going to have to probably edit.
We'll cut it up. Yeah.
But there's a nice interview with Brad Hewlings.
Oh yes, nice. Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm embarrassed to say that motoski video is not loading either. I'm not sure. It's saying something about a codec that's not compatible with my browser. So that's something I'd love to be able to just do a couple of clicks and fix it now, but it's going to take more than that to fix it. So I do apologize. But what we'll do is you've got so much footage that you've shared with me. We're going to have you back quite a few times this season, so we'll make it up in future episodes. But let's see then if we can play that other clip, the one with Ron's Yamahas. Let's see if that will load. And if not, I've got some backup of some clips I've taken at other shows just to kind of fill out the hour. But let's see if this Ron's Yamaha clip will load. I should have tried these in this because I had them all.
I know you pull them up. I suppose it's probably fighting it.
Yeah, that is aggravating. Go through all this and bring you on and can't view the clip.
Well, and I'll explain about Ron's. I actually did the interview with Ron. He collects and restores Yamahas, and he was at the Donahue Super Sports last Yamaha deal, and I just took the time because I've seen him at shows. I've seen him take a bunch of trophies home and a bunch of others winnings and things, and it was just interesting, how these guys spend their time, rebuilding these sleds, and it's a love of the snowmobile sport, to dig into these sleds and make them look like brand new again.
Are these the sleds here, the Yamahas?
No, that's a different group. That's
okay. Because I pulled up that clip we were looking at earlier.
Right, unless some of those are Ron's. I don't know for 100% for sure. But that's a group out of I can't remember where they're from. I seen them at the last Yamaha show, the deal. And also I've got a guy just about 10, 12 miles from me that has quite a collection, Brad Gunier. And he's got quite a few that he's restored. And somewhere down the road, he's actually putting a little museum building together. We'll try and get in there and do a live show with him. So
nice. Because this video here we're looking at is the same one we looked at earlier, but I was hoping these would be those Yamahas, but it sounds like maybe not. And then these moto skis, are these the moto skis that?
Yeah, and a couple of them came out of Canada. He went and picked up, and it's just, like I say, he's these guys took in, and did a Yamaha, or did the moto ski and collected the moto skis that they were involved with over their time of riding and things like that, and the mini bike up on the top up there, and some of the swag and stuff. But it's just interesting stories of what these guys go through, and just like anybody that's doing a restore, what they all go through to bring these things back into shape so that they can be show quality. Or see, I collect Elans. I've probably got between 8 to 12 Elans, and I don't do anything to them. I show up unrestored. I think to me, that patina is a little bit more important than having them so nice that you can't do anything with them. And I want to ride them and play with them and things like that.
Yeah, something to be said for that, for sure. And we do have some comments that have come in. Let's see. Someone from SNOWTRACKS is here saying, "Finally got into the chat. Sorry about that. Great show." That must be Armin Buto, maybe, saying he'd get in there.
That could be Daryl, our the guy who actually owns and runs SNOWTRACKS. Him and his wife Julie. Julie was actually the inspiration behind SNOWTRACKS in the beginning. So
nice. And then Reese Fleury is commenting about Rob. We're talking about the cancer, saying, "Let's hope Rob lost a good friend today of cancer, and we are sorry to hear about your friend on that, for sure." And yeah, we're hoping that Rob is in the clear here with what they removed today. Max Garage says the 75 245 is way nicer than the 76.
Oh, yeah.
The 75 was the first year, wasn't it, of this RV?
Yeah. So the RV chassis, all aluminum. Like I say, there was a lot of development into it. And, that's the year that they, 74, they stepped back away from racing. And this was their answer to get the independents out to race, 245. And then the brother to the 245 is the Moto Ski Sonic, which I don't think there's one in here. The Moto Ski Sonic is actually the same chassis. Yeah, there is one there. But
there's a newer one, yeah.
340, yeah. Well, the same year, it was 75. Came out in November and December of 74. I give you a little backstory on mine. My brother and my dad never told me about it. That Russ had called from Skidoo and said that, we were available to get it. And actually, that was the year we were racing Mercuries. So we had 2 75 Mercuries and another buddy, 75 Mercury. We had it for Ironwood, Michigan. Found a spot to break these sleds in before the races in International Falls, Minnesota. It's just Thanksgiving weekend. So we went up and broke them in. And as we were going by the Skidoo dealer, which was Avi, who was a World Championship Skidoo dealer, and he actually won the World Championship back in I think 68, maybe 67. Something like that. Well, we stopped at his dealership, and he just had brought this in on the floor. And, of course, he was saying, only certain people are going to get these to race and this and that. And, and we're, and I go, dang, that's a 245 RV, perfect for the Class I race. I'm never going to ever see it. Well, we came back home, and when we backed our trailer into the shop there and stuff, my dad says, "Come on." He says, "I got something to show you." And I go, "Well, what the heck could he be showing me now?" Of course, he goes back to the shop. He opens up the door, and there sat the 245 RV Skidoo. I was 15 years old. It got loaded on the truck and out to a hayfield to get broken very quick.
Was that your birthday?
No, it was not my birthday. But we left for International Falls 2 or 3 days later. To race. So we, tried to break in as much as we could. Well, I actually, during that week, so we got it on, they picked it up and we came back on a Sunday night from testing. And so it was in the shop on Monday and, things like that. And I probably shouldn't tell this story because it's going to get out. But I came home Tuesday night from school, was going to work on it, and the sled wasn't there. And I feel, what the heck? Did my brother take it or something? So I started getting a little nervous and started asking around. Well, we were racing for Mercury at that time. My brother was. And the engineer thought it was quite an interesting sled. So it spent the day at the Mercury shop in Oshkosh at the race shop with Mercury's engineers climbing all over it to look to see what BRP did.
Wow.
If BRP ever knew that the sled they gave me kind of went to give a few secrets for that 76 Mercury liquid cooled.
Yeah, behind enemy lines there. That's wow. That's a great story. That is a great story.
But my brother sold that sled, and I don't know where it went. I still, once in a while, tease him. I said, we didn't ride it or nothing. It was still sitting in the race shop, as years went on of racing. But, it disappeared along with one of the liquid-cooled Mercuries also. So
wow. That's wild.
But I hold him to it. I'll get, it's brotherly love. We'll get him.
Nice. Oh, and our good friend Dirk Seams is saying he enjoys your stories, as do we all, for sure. Definitely, we appreciate that. And well, cool. So let me pull this down, and I always have a couple of video clips on hand as a contingency for situations such as this. So let me pull something up here and see what we've got just to finish out the hour. Now, since you're the guest, Jeff, I'll put it to you. I've got some Kawasaki's we can look at. I've got a Snow Twister, and I've got some Ski-Doos, one of which is a similar to the RV. I'll let you choose which of
the Twisters are my favorite. I mean, that's what launched our racing career. I mean, it really gave us a boost. I mean, we made the finals at International Falls, Minnesota. My brother did, and they were quite the sleds. I mean,
they sure were. They still do well today racing. Go ahead, Rob. I'm sorry.
That's why I sent you that thumb drive, because you're going to get some good video off of that. Like I say, the interview with Brad Hewlings and Ed Shabitsky. I mean, there's quite a few that were there, and I'm still kind of looking. We had a picture at the end of all the guys who raced on Mercury's, and I'm having a hard time finding who took it or what happened to it. And I don't know if it's on the video thumb drive. I've never really found it, but we had a videographer actually come in from Michigan and did it. Mike from Mike's 45 videos. He's trailed along on a few of my trail rides, and he works for the American Snowmobile Council.
Now, Jeff, we always heard a story up here that somebody was going to reproduce the Mercs for people that wanted to go race them, because a lot of people that have them in the shop don't want to bring them out to the tracks.
Yeah,
is there somebody that's reproducing them?
Not that I know of, but I did. One of the stories at the reunion was that Doug and Stan Hayes, they always had to get together for USSA to show the new products, and Doug and Stan Hayes carried that liquid mercury cooled snowmobile into a meeting in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And Bobby Eastman was the first one, said to him, "Boy, you guys really did do your homework on that race sled." He says, "It's unbelievable how lightweight it is and how ergonomically it's made for the racetrack."
Yeah, nice.
So, and like I say, the plant only being 20 miles from us, we got a little insight here and there when things were going to go down. So,
yeah, back in 1979, I raced a 340 SRX, and there's a picture of me in one race, and there's 4 Mercs on this side and 3 Mercs on this side. I was the only Yamaha on the race.
And you won it, right, Rob?
No, I came fourth. But, yeah.
Well,
on the corners, the Mercs were all over me, but I had more power on the straightaways.
In fact, at Eagle River, and I don't know if it was, I think it was just a regular, stock race. The Mercury's actually didn't win the 340 class. I think that's one of the only ones that they didn't win that year, because they had a 250, a 340, and a 440, which was dominant in all the classes. But if you look at that Eagle River charting of who won and what was what, there is actually Yamaha's listed in there. But I think that was at 338 with the nose, kind of with the headlight in it, nose type deal. Now we raced in 70. We had a 73 Skidoo, which was very competitive, and we won a lot of races with. But in 74, Yamaha, the 338 GPX, was a little bit faster. Well, my brother ended up with one of those, and we played with that. I raced it a couple times. I never could get the hang of it. But, the GPX 338 was a good race sled, too. Yeah. I mean, so.
I still got mine sitting in the backyard.
There you go. Yeah. In the backyard. It's supposed to be on the shelf.
Oh no, it's been marked damage. It's a race machine.
Yeah, well,
it's not showroom condition.
Patina.
We bring it up to the drags once in a while.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, cool. So, go ahead. Did you have another point you wanted to make?
Well, no, I just it's just I did a Wide Open Wisconsin this year is one of the biggest snow shows that the Wisconsin's had in a while. And they're running Vintage Show, and I ended up being the judge. Well, one of the classes I had to judge was the race sleds. Well, every race sled is pretty much made for whoever raced it or rode it. So how do you pick, that there was 25 sleds, actual race sleds. And how do you pick out of that to decide, what should be good, And of course, I'm a Mercury guy and Skidoo guy a little bit. So I was leaning a little bit towards that. Well, then when I started looking more at the Mercury a little bit, it was a clone. Well, to me, that's not been raced. It's not really it's a race sled, yes, because it's a clone. But to me, if you're going to show in a race competition, it's got to be a race sled that was raced. And we happened to pick that the championship of that down at the Wide Open Wisconsin was an 800 Magnum Rupp, and it still had some scars on it, but it's a beautiful looking sled. Nice. And the guy's name was Roger, but I can't remember his last name. But probably the hardest thing to do is to judge race sleds. Now you can go back and look at, other vintage sleds, that have been, reconditioned. Yes, you can see, different things, and what appeals to the eye. But gosh, when you look at a race sled, it's just it's built for that person that raced it.
We got a gentleman comes out to our vintage oval race with one of Brad Hewling's old Scorpion machines, and we keep saying all the money tied up in that. You're going to bring this to the track, but he's got the original one hanging in his shop. It's a replica he built.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
But it looks identical.
And then that's kind of what I think the World Championship Derby up there, has a weekend they call Legends Laps. And you pay for so many laps, and you're starting to see some of these older sleds come back out, make 3 or 4 laps, but how it was in the old days in 69 and 70, you worked on them more than you raced them or rode them. So,
Yeah.
I can remember my dad welding up the muffler on one of our Skidoos every weekend we used it.
That's cool. Well, cool. Well, let's take a look at this snow twister. This is my good friend Paul Belfay. He lives down near St. Johnsbury, Vermont, and I've seen him at a lot of different shows, and he went to a show that I did in 2018. But here's one. Let's just take a look at it. It'll speak for itself. As we wait for it to load. Yeah, this computer is slow tonight. Well, while we're waiting for it to load, I'm going to confess as to why. Okay, page unresponsive. I'm going to try loading it again here. Why those videos wouldn't load is because I downloaded them from Facebook.
Oh,
here we go.
Here in Derby, Vermont, today at a snowmobile show, and I'm here with this Mercury Snow Twister, 1976 Mercury Snow Twister, 340cc water-cooled engine. It was built specifically for racing. They made the engine in 3 sizes, 250, 340, and 440, all with the same chassis. And they built 550 of each engine size. The machine is made to turn left. As you can see, we have a loop handlebar here with an angled handlebar. So when the skis are turned left, the handlebar is basically straight. It has a 2-gallon gas tank, basically for to lighten the sled up, and you'll be only racing for 5 or so laps. So that's all the gas you would need. It's a 2-cycle engine, and you have to mix the gas and the oil together and put it in the tank. The only electrical component on this is the kill switch. And we have a tachometer, electric tachometer, that tacks out at 12,000 RPM.
Wow. That's some high revs.
Very high revs. Also, let's talk about the construction of the snowmobile. We have an aluminum chassis, again, lightweight. We have a plastic belly pan, fiberglass hood, very thin fiberglass. We have an aluminum ski, and we have a cleat track suspension without any shock absorbers.
Wow.
Because basically you're on flat track, ice track, you don't need any suspension.
So it eliminates more weight.
Exactly.
Nice.
This snowmobile weighs approximately 300 pounds.
Wow.
Very lightweight. And a very short chassis, as you can see, and it was designed to turn left, and it turned left because of the short wheelbase. It did an excellent job with that. So in all 3 classes for 1976, it dominated every class. The sled to own in 76, if you wanted to win, was a Mercury Snow Twister.
So yeah, that's my good friend Paul Belfay. That's at a Vintage Snowmobile Show that I put on back in 2018 here in Vermont. And
I can tell you some of the bad things about the Mercury. One of the things that you say it also dominated, it was that they had 3 stock classes for USSA, 3 mod stock classes. So if you wanted to jump that sled up into the mod stock class, you could either change out the cylinders or put the pipes on it, the bigger carbs on it, and you could do that, at the race that day and race mod stock with it also.
Yeah, cool.
We did that once in a while, and the only problem that I know of, and I look at these snow twisters and I see them at a show to see if they were ever updated. USSA put out a ruling, and so did the Southern Wisconsin Snowmobile Racing Association. There's a monotube that goes across the front that supports the skis. You probably can't see it in this video, but it's a solid tube that goes all the way across the front, where then the spindles were welded to that monotube. Well, that monotube liked to break in the corners because these spring sleds would bounce in the corner, and that would break that monotube. So they made you put I think it was at 1-inch band iron. You had to weld from spindle to spindle to race. And it was like after the first month of this snow twister being raced that they were having this problem. And what happened when that monotube broke in the front, you lost control of the sled and you were going to be into the fence. And they had a couple of people get hurt. And that was the answer to fixing that. That's where the USSA and these other racing associations stepped up. So if you ever see one, just bend down and look across the front and see if they ever updated it by welding on this 1-inch band iron from spindle to spindle.
Wow, that's cool to know.
I mean, it was a deal that it bounced in the corner, and it was built so light that it bounced so hard that it would break that monotube that goes across the front.
Wow.
But I mean, it's something to look at sometime when you're looking at a Mercury liquid cooled. I mean, nobody really says anything about it, but I happen to be involved with it, so I know that and I can remember a lot of guys doing welding at the track.
Sure.
They make it to go to the race. So
yeah,
but that was probably one of the only real faults of it. Of course, the motors were Kohler motors, liquid cooled, and they started out, the free airs were Kohlers. The thing is, that Kohler motor was spec'd by Mercury. There's no other Kohler motor like that. That motor was built exactly for those sleds, and that was to do with the motor builder and one of the head mechanics, Dick Barr. They spec'd that motor, and then I know that I think Rupp had it later on, also, but that was quite the deal.
That's cool. Now, Rob, did you have any comments on any of this before we wind things down? Or
They did a great job on that, Merc. Like, it's a collector's piece.
yes,
That was, like the engineer said, there was a wall built in the factory, and only certain people that belonged to the performance part of that group were allowed in there. And nobody knew what they were building. We happened to have one of the engineers work with us in racing, Bubba, and he let out little hints here and there, but till we picked up the sled, get ready to go to International Falls, Minnesota for the first race of the year, things were kept pretty quiet, hidden. So
that's wild. They knew they had something special there.
Yep.
That's cool.
It's sad that when Brunswick stepped in, the bean counters came out, and there's a saying on some of the sleds, what the Lord gaveth, Brunswick took it away.
Well, cool. So before we wind things down, I'm going to take a few comments. We've got Ivan Mayo here saying those 245 RVs, he saw some of them at the Kawartha Cup in 75. He said the 1975 250 Arctic Zs and the RVs totally dominated the 250 stock class. And,
yeah, actually, I have a picture of me racing down in southern Wisconsin. I'm out front, and there's 6 cats behind me in the corner.
Wow.
And I got to see if I can find that sometime. But, I was 15 years old at the time. I didn't think much of it, but it's a neat picture. I mean, and I did get beat by the cat in the end. So
sure. That would be cool to see that picture on a future episode when you come on. We'll have to look at that. And then Reese Fleury is saying he'd like to see your race sled, Rob. At some point,
it's been raced.
Sure. If you ever have a chance,
if
you ever have a chance, maybe go out and do a walk around video.
We'll see how it does again this year on the ice.
Yeah, if you ever have a chance, do like kind of a walk around video of it.
Yeah,
that we put on here. And then Vintage Mini Bike Lovers saying love those Mercs. And Vintage Mini Bike Lovers, by the way, that's a podcast that we do the second Sunday of every month. We did one this past Sunday, and if you like those mini bikes from the 60s and 70s, tune into wherever you're viewing this, and you'll be able to see that. Also, talking about Benedemus saying the merch is cool for sure. And the Mercs. Okay, yeah, he likes the Mercs. I thought he was talking about the logo hats and things we were selling earlier. D. Landsberg says, I remember those Mercs winning at Boonville. Vintage Mini Bike Lover says, great show tonight, fellas. See you next week. Cool deal. And John Spranger Jr., our good friend, says, thank you, Mike, Jeff, and Rob, for another great show. And Glenn Ford says, great insight tonight, Jeff. Thank you. And yes, we appreciate your insight on all of this, Jeff. This was a great time. And I look forward to having you on here sometime later in this season, because I know we've got tons of video clips that we're sitting on. And if you're curious about those clips we couldn't load tonight, they are on the SNOWTRACKS Facebook page. That's why I couldn't play them, is because I downloaded them straight off the page, and it's not going to let me play them. So if you're curious to see that stuff and a whole lot more, go to the SNOWTRACKS Facebook page, and you can see a lot of those videos, and also SNOWTRACKS.com. Another shameless plug for that website. Be sure and visit those. And before we close, Jeff, any final comments?
Nope. Just like I say, go to Facebook, check us out. A lot of people don't have Facebook. The other thing we did with Facebook is that we wanted people to share their rides when they go out riding, and so other people can see where you ride and what you do. Mm-hmm. We have another Facebook page called SNOWTRACKS SNOWTRACKS, which you look into that, then we have people put up, where they went riding this last weekend, and how the trails were. It's kind of an add-on where we can bring the community of SNOWTRACKS back into Facebook multimedia and all things like that. But no, please check us out, snowtracks.com, and if there's any clubs out east that want to get involved, check out the link, and we'll work with you. We'll try to come up with something. I'm a promoter. I'm not a salesman. So that's about it. So I'm glad thanks for having me on. We'll figure out something on these video clips, because like I say, I video a lot of stuff. I also fly a drone, usually at these shows.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we'll bring into that.
Love to
there
see
was
some
a
of that.
Great show in Wisconsin. It's called the Piston Burners Club. It's the first week in February, and actually they go, if there's snow, they go to the Aero Bowl, which was designed by Keycafer, which was involved with Mercury. So thanks, Ariane. You guys have a great night. We'll see you again down the road. Okay?
Definitely. Yeah. We'll
Be
stay
safe,
in touch.
Take care.
And
Great show.
Rob,
We'll see you next week.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone. And as always, the last word goes to Amsoil. And yes, we'll catch you all next week. Hello, everyone. This is Rob and Mike. How you doing today, Rob?
I'm doing good. Mike, yourself?
Very well. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. Now, today, we're going to be talking about Amsoil. And in a few moments, we're going to show you how you can get the deepest discounts, free shipping, and free gifts when you order your Amsoil products through us. But first, I'm going to ask Rob to give you a quick description of what Amsoil is and why you should consider using Amsoil products in your motorized vehicles.
Thanks, Mike. Amsoil is 100% synthetic oil. Everybody uses Amsoil for a different reason. Some people like the benefits that Amsoil is warranted for 25,000 miles or 1 year. The reason we can do that is because Amsoil doesn't oxidize. It doesn't form the usual carbons, gums, sludges like petroleum oils do. That's why we can keep it in the engines longer. Petroleum oils never do wear out. They oxidize themselves. That's why they have to be changed at 3,000 kilometers. And Amsoil likes the benefit that you only have to change the oil once a year. That saves them money. Some of the people like the benefit of Amsoil is it's a slipperier type lube. By having a slipperier type lube, it cuts down friction and drag. By less friction and drag, engines run 20 to 50 degrees cooler, better gas mileage. Now, Amsoil says 25% more protection than the industry requires is in the Amsoil bottles. My average customer gets about 10% increase in gas mileage. That's a big savings.
Yeah.
And by cutting down friction and drag, for every 10 degrees you cut down the friction and drag, doubles the life of the engine. So by having the engine run cooler, it makes it last longer. Some people like the benefit of the range of the Amsoil. Amsoil's flash point is 425 degrees, and it pours at 50 below zero.
Wow.
If you ever tried petroleum oil when it's 10 below, it turns to honey. And in the summertime, petroleum oil thins out, and once it thins out, that's when it starts breaking down. So Amsoil's an all-season oil, can give you better gas mileage, longer engine life, less maintenance. It ends up being cheaper over a year's time running Amsoil than it is petroleum oils.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And Amsoil is available for pretty much any motorized vehicle, anything from lawn equipment, cars, trucks, boats, ATVs, motorcycles, snowmobiles.
Yep. And a lot of people phone me up and say, well, what's the benefit of our gear lube? Exactly what I told you about the engine oil. It pours in cold weather, it runs cooler, makes the equipment last longer. And they say, well, what's the benefit of the small engine? Same thing. Makes the engine run cooler, last longer, better performance. So it saves on all the applications that Amsoil has available.
Wonderful, wonderful. So yeah, let's talk now. Hopefully this has convinced people to think about maybe joining us in the Amsoil experience. Let's talk about some of the discounts and free shipping and how that all happens. I'm going to pop a graphic on the screen. And yeah, by all means, if you want to talk people through how this preferred customer program works.
Amsoil has a number of different programs. One of our main ones is a catalog customer, where somebody can order directly out of our catalog. If they order out of the catalog, they order $100 worth, Amsoil will ship it right to their house. But our best program is our preferred customer. For only $10 for 6 months, you become a preferred customer, you save 25% on all the product. You order $100 worth, they're going to give you free shipping. You don't have to order a whole case. You can mix and match. Say you want 4 bottles of small engine, 7 bottles of 5W30, and a couple of gear loops. You can mix and match. You can order 1 bottle at a time if you want. There's no minimums, no maximums. By being a preferred customer, you save over 25% on all the products you're going to buy. Amsoil sends you extra gifts, a $5 gift certificate on your birthday, $5 when you renew your account, stuff like that. So it's a good way to save on some of the products you want to buy.
For sure. Yeah, it's an incredible value. And this is the deepest level of discount that anyone can get when ordering Amsoil. Is that correct?
It is.
Wonderful. So let's take people through the step-by-step experience of placing an Amsoil order. Then that would include signing up for the preferred customer preferred customer program, so they can receive those deepest levels of discount. So let's go to the website. This is what the website's going to look like. These are some screenshots. Once you go to amsoil.com, there's a link in the description, or you can just type that into a browser, amsoil.com. This is the page you land on. At the upper corner of the page there, you see how I've circled in red. That is the link to click, the Join Now link. That will take you to the Preferred Customer Program page, where you can take advantage of all these discounts and free shipping and everything that we've just been talking about. This is what that page looks like. In the lower right, you're going to click Join Now. This will pop up. You select the duration you'd like, whether it's 6 months or 12 months, and click Add to Cart. Now, once this pop-up goes away, you'll be back on the main page. And the upper left, you'll see where I've got that red arrow. It says shop. Now you can start shopping for products, and on your very first order, you're going to get these discounts and the free shipping as long as it's over $100. You'll get all of these benefits right away. So once you click shop, it's going to take you to a product page. There's different types of oils, lubricants, so on and so forth. For the benefit of this exercise we're doing now, I'm just going to click motor oil. It shows different types of motor oil. Let's click gasoline. Now this takes us to an item. It's their synthetic motor oil. And you can see the item there, and there's choices for different viscosities. But take a look at the price. Let's take a closer look. Let's zoom in. But if you've joined the preferred customer program first, you're going to automatically get the deepest levels of discount. That's what we're looking at here. You're saving $3.80 on that quart of oil. Instead of paying $16.29, you're now paying $12.49 for that quart of oil. That is the deepest level of discount you can possibly get. And then you just add the quantity that you'd like. You select any other items that you're thinking about, add them to the cart. And once you click add to cart for the final time, you're going to see this come up at the top of the screen. It's going to show your items and your the total that you're at so far. Pardon me. And then you just click view cart in the upper right, and that'll take you to your cart. Take a close look here at the upper right. That blue box shows that you're getting free shipping. You're eligible for free shipping on this order because it's over $100. That little yellow box shows that you've got the preferred customer membership on your order that gives you the deepest levels of discounts for the next 6 to 12 months. And then below that, you've got the items that have been selected. For the exercise here, I selected 9 quarts of the signature series, but that brings us up over $100 for the free shipping. We're saving $34.20. And if you're ready to finish, you click checkout now, and that takes you to this screen here. If you haven't signed up with an Amsoil account at this point, just click in the lower right to create an account, create a new account. It's going to ask you for some basic information, name, and those types of things. Now let's take a closer look. You'll see this gray shaded box. This is a very important box. This is going to ask you if someone has referred you to Amsoil. And if so, please enter my name. My name is Mike LaPierre. It's spelled right there on the screen for the correct spelling. And also the referral number, 304-555-94. That's how you make sure that Rob and I get credit for this. Now, in the interest of full disclosure, I have signed up for Amsoil under Rob. So when you order using this referral number, Rob and I both benefit. So if you enjoy these podcasts that we're doing, this is a wonderful way to support the podcast, because when you order using this referral number, Rob and I both benefit. And the commissions I make go directly toward offsetting the cost of doing these podcasts. So I thank you in advance for that, for using my referral number. I very much appreciate it. And once you've done that, you just go into the next screen to enter your payment information, and you're done. Now, once you've placed your order that's over $100, and that order includes your Amsoil preferred customer program, you are now eligible to get a free DVD from myself. Now, this is going to be either a muscle car DVD or a vintage snowmobile DVD. Use the email address on the screen, wkspodcasts@gmail.com. Send me an email. Let me know which DVD you would like me to send you, the muscle car or the vintage snowmobile DVD, and I'll get that right out to you. As you're typing in that email, in the subject line, be sure and type in capital letters free DVD requests, so it stands out as I'm checking my email, and we'll get that right out to you. So I guess the last thing, Rob, that we wanted to talk about is if someone is considering Amsoil as a business opportunity.
Yes. If anybody has a retail or a commercial account and they would like to buy directly from Amsoil, just send Mike a line. He'll show you how to set up, and you can buy directly from Amsoil. But if you are interested in starting your own part-time business, a part-time business that can grow into a full-time income, Mike and I will show you the Amsoil marketing plan. Amsoil has a large selection of products that cover almost every application. So it doesn't matter if you're into snowmobile, boating, or ATVing, or hot rods. We have an oil for every application. It's a fun type business that I really enjoy doing. Where else can I go and have fun and make money doing it? And Mike and I are here to help you all the way along. If you need any help on how to promote or to find new accounts, we're here to help you.
For sure. So when you sign up under that number, this 304-555-94, you're getting Rob and I as a team. Now, Rob has been doing Amsoil for 40 years. Can you believe that? 40 years. So he knows every aspect of this business, and he knows all of the ins and outs of the products. So he'll be able to help you with any kind of product questions or any kind of questions to show you the different business models that you can do with Amsoil. And then the other thing that you get when you sign up under me is I've got a strong background in social media. So if you need some coaching on how to generate Amsoil leads using Facebook and YouTube, I'm happy to coach you with that when you sign up under Rob and I. You get both of us as a team to help you, to coach you, to support you, whatever you need to get you off and running with this business and having fun with it. Like Rob said, it's an enormous amount of fun. If you're like Rob and I and you enjoy going to any kind of boat shows, car shows, motorcycle shows, snowmobile shows, anything with a motor, you like going to those shows, those events, those races, this is a great way to turn that into a income opportunity for you.
Yes. And just by wearing my Amsoil hat at one of these events, people come up and ask me about Amsoil. People don't know where to buy it, and I'm there to help them, show them where they can buy the product.
Perfect. Well, cool. Well, this is great. Any final thoughts, Rob, before we wrap it up?
Amsoil's a fun business. Amsoil's been around since 1968. You know, it was the first synthetic oil to be AI approved.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And that's very early in the game too, isn't it?
Yes.
For sure. Well, good. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for viewing. Hopefully, we've gotten you excited as we are about the Amsoil products. We'd love it if you could join us either as someone who uses the Amsoil products or to join the Amsoil team as a business opportunity. And we thank you so much for viewing. Have a great day.
You have a good day.